7 years ago, on the day of the catastrophe, a horrifying disaster called a dungeon break occurred because of the incident. A lot of people suffered and his parents also passed away. On that day, he lost everything in an instant. He made a promise to himself while crying tears of blood that he will definitely become a hunter, rip the monsters apart, and kill them. 7 years later, he was kicked out of the hunter training center. Sun Jun was on the bench when he remembered his coach's words that he no longer needs to come to the training center. Sun Jun asks why he was suddenly being kicked. His coach explained that those who have awakened get a few months to complete their training, and Sun Jun was aware that they usually debut as hunters, but it had been 7 years for Sun Jun. His coach said honestly that his talent was beyond trash, and if he let Sun Jun stay in the training center, the reputation of the center also become trash. Everyone in the training center talks about how talentless he was. Remembering it made Sun Jun angry, and asks himself why his stats not have increased at all after 7 years of training. While Sun Jun was blaming himself, he heard someone ask how did her daddy pass away, and the kid answered she remember, and it was when the monsters came. Her daddy passed away because he saved people until the end. The mother asks her child what if she's going through something in life later, what should she do? The child answered she'll be strong and don't give up. Sun Jun heard everything and thanked the mother and her child, leaving the mother and the child confused. Sun Jun run back to the training center with motivation on him. Sun Jun arrives at the training center in heavy rain and knocks on the door. His coach opens the door and asks him to go away, but Sun Jun begs his coach to help him take the hunter exam one more time because he can't give up easily. Suddenly his coach got angry because he thought that Sun Jun was there for a refund of membership fees. Sun Jun shouted that isn't about the money, but the coach suddenly punches him, which made him throw in the trash cans. Before the coach go inside, he said that Sun Jun was a failure bastard. Sun Jun was left in the trash while bleeding in the rain, wondering if he also had a unique trait or a little talent. Then his thought was interrupted when his tears falls to the water on the ground and a virtual screen appeared saying the Tower of Trials is praising him for his iron will. The water on the ground became deep and pulled him inside. Shocked, Sun Jun shouted for help, but when his coach come out thinking Sun Jun was cursing him, there was no one there. Meanwhile, Sun Jun was drowning in the water, and the water threw him out into other dimension. Suddenly the virtual screen appeared explaining that the Tower of Trials has selected all suitable candidates from Earth and he needs to select his difficulty. The reward he'll get will be directly proportional to his chosen difficulty. Sun Jun doesn't know what's happening, but his instincts are telling him to seize the chance and he selects his difficulty. The virtual screen dragged him to other dimensions while explaining that he will enter the first floor of the Tower of Trials and all the challengers' stats and status abnormalities will be restored. Sun Jun arrived at the desert and the virtual screen provides him with a weapon. His trial is to survive, and his reward will be a unique trait. Sun Jun thinks he was getting something he worked hard for the past 7 years as a reward, and he thinks it was insane. When Sun Jun was going to get the sword, the sand moved, and the virtual screen said that his tutorial trial will begin. The virtual screen showed Sun Jun chosen difficulty was hard. The sand becomes a golem, and Sun Jun needs to survive within 9 minutes and 58 seconds. The golem attacked him, but Sun Jun didn't know what to do. He just runs, but when he was going to trip, the virtual screen again showed that the penalty for failing the trial is death. Sun Jun was still running, wondering if he can survive by just running, and although the golem looked slow, it actually faster because of its size. Sun Jun thinks it's impossible for him to run for 9 minutes with his stamina because of the desert biome. In the situation, Sun Jun only has two choices. It was he dies trying to run away or dies fighting. While Sun Jun wonders how he will win against the sand golem, the memories of his members in the training center mocking him and the image of his coach telling him that he was nothing in their world, making him angry. Sun Jun decided not to die in a pathetic way and run in another direction. Sun Jun realized he need to survive in another way, and monsters like golems will stop moving if he can destroy their core, but the golem core are usually in places that are hard to reach. Sun Jun has a plan and runs toward high sand and jumps when the monster tried to attack him. Sun Jun stops himself slowly from falling by stuck his swords into the sand, while the golem collapsed to the bottom of the sand. Sun Jun grabs the opportunity and jumps into the core of the golem and cut it. But the core was hard, and when he was going to hit it again, the golem tried to stand up, which made him move away a little from the core. Sun Jun tried to hit it one more time, but the golem grabbed him. When the golem tried to eat him, Sun Jun heard the mocking of his coach again. Sun Jun gets angry and throws his sword into the core of the golem. The virtual screen appeared telling him that he destroyed the golem and he had 7 minutes and 8 seconds remaining time. Also, he completed the tutorial trial. Sun Jun is left in the sand with an injured body but happy that he survived. As promised, the virtual screen unlocked his unique traits as a reward and he obtained 1000 points. Also, as an additional reward, he earned the skill of fast recovery and obtained 500 points again. Sun Jun can't believe that he had unique traits and he put a lot of effort over the past 7 years to achieve it, but the only thing he got is scorn and mockery. The virtual screen titled him with the unique trait of necromancy. Suddenly Sun Ji-yoon saw that a black fog appeared where the sand golem died. The virtual screen asks him if he wants to absorb the sand golem's spirit. Sun Ji-yoon accepts it and the black fog goes toward him. Sun Ji-yoon absorbed the spirit of the sand golem and his proficiency increased by 7%. The black fog goes inside of him and his number of spirits is 1/5. Sun Ji-yoon can feel the spirit and he feels that the energy is filling his body. Also he feels that his stats have gone up. Sun Ji-yoon thinks that he hasn't been able to raise his stats for the last 7 years, but finally he can permanently increase his stats, and Sun Ji-yoon also thinks if he returns to the earth with his skill, he can become a hunter. The virtual screen shows him his present unique trait. In his basic effect, he can absorb the spirits of the dead and use them as he pleases. In additional effect, he can permanently increase his stats. The virtual screen asks him to move to the waiting room and then made a portal. Sun Ji-yoon with no choice goes in and got thrown out into another dimension. While Sun Ji-yoon was lying on the ground, he feels that his injuries were worse than he thought, but when he stood up all of his injuries were healed. Sun Ji-yoon was walking to a single bed and lay down while wondering if he can really escape the tower. Suddenly the virtual screen appeared explaining that Sun Ji-yoon can use 5 commands. It was info, store, community, inventory, and trials. Also if he said the command words, the commands will be activated. Sun Ji-yoon slaps his face and tried to focus on his survival. Sun Ji-yoon said the trial and the virtual screen showed the second floor trial, a time of 23 hours and 21 minutes. Sun Ji-yoon said the community, and the virtual screen showed the community's difficulty hard and the chats of many confused contestants. Sun Ji-yoon thinks that people who aren't hunters got dragged into the tower too. Then suddenly the admin entered and disabled the chat room. The admin has important information for those who have cleared the tutorial trial. Sun Ji-yoon realizes he doesn't know how to return, so he needs to memorize the information. The admin teaches every contestant that the points they earn during a tutorial trial are used as currency within the Tower of Trials, and are used in the shop. Also within the Tower of Trials, they cannot get even a single drop of water without points, and points can only be earned through trials. Sun Ji-yoon realizes that in order to get points, he needs to keep entering and clearing trials. If not, he will die of dehydration. Sun Ji-yoon thought he could be a hunter if he just returned. Sun Ji-yoon looked at his sword and realized he can't do much with just a long sword. Then he said store and buy weapons. Sun Ji-yoon was practicing because he realized all the hunter lost all their stats when they entered the tower. But it should be easier to learn skills that they've learned before. That's why he can't forget that he's not the same as them. If he doesn't train, there's no way he can catch up. When Sun Ji-yoon was worn off and laying on the ground, the room healed him. Sun Ji-yoon was picking up his food in the store, and suddenly the remaining time for his next trial pop up. Sun Ji-yoon thinks that time was faster than he thought, and he was wondering if he can manage to survive again, but Sun Ji-yoon believes that he will survive. Eventually, his second floor trial comes. The virtual screen asks him if he would like to accept the second floor. Then Sun Ji-yoon presses yes, and he goes into the portal and entered the forest. His mission is to assassinate the orc tribe leader within the given time limit. Sun Ji-yoon saw from the cliff the orc tribe. Sun Ji-yoon realizes that his mission is to go into the place swarming with orcs and defeat the tribe leader. Sun Ji-yoon goes down to the cliff and hides in the bush near the orc tribe village. He thinks that normally in dungeons, if there's a guard, there's a hunter, and it is difficult to win against one hunter, but the problem is there are a lot of orcs. Sun Ji-yoon thinks he needs to retreat now and come back with a plan later. Suddenly he realizes that there is a way to complete his trial. Sun Ji-yoon lights the woods with a fire, then inserts it into the virtual monitor. The monitor absorbs it and Sun Ji-yoon comes back to the orc tribe village again. Sun Ji-yoon analyzed that the hunter's orc always hunts in the morning and they'll come back when the sun starts to set. He also realizes that the only way to complete his trial is with fire. In the morning, Sun Ji-yoon grabs the opportunities when the orc guards aren't guarding the tribe to eat or take a break. Sun Ji-yoon throws all his firewood at the tribe village, which made the orcs panic. Sun Ji-yoon's plan is to close off the village with fire, so he doesn't have to worry about facing the orc hunters that are coming back from their hunt, but before that happens, he needs to kill at least 2 orc workers. While the orcs panic to get water, Sun Ji-yoon gets the chance to kill it. After killing it, the orc's black fog comes out of its body. Sun Ji-yoon absorbed it and his proficiency has risen to 9%. Sun Ji-yoon absorbed the black fog completely, but he didn't notice that the orc guard is at his back. The orc attacks him, and luckily Sun Ji-yoon shields himself immediately, but the orc was too strong for him, so he used his skill. His strength increased by 4 and his agility increased by 2 thanks to the black fog of the orc. Sun Ji-yoon fight back and killed the guard orc. Also he absorbed its black fog too, which made him increase his stamina, strength, and agility again. Sun Ji-yoon walked toward the village and killed all the orc workers easily thanks to the black fog of the orc guard that he absorbed, but when he was near the tribe leader, the one orc guard that separated from guarding attacked him. Sun Ji-yoon stabbed the orc guard when he had the chance and killed it. Suddenly the tribe leader attacks him with fire, but luckily Sun Jiun shields himself immediately before it hit him. The tribe leader was shocked to see that Sun Jiun was still standing up. Sang Yoon warned the tribe leader that he'll be dead, and when the tribe leader tried to attack Sun Jiun again, Sun Jiun cut the orc leader's hands with its cane. The orc shouted because of pain, looked in its hand, and run inside its home. Sun Jiun follows it, but when he opens the clothes that hang on the orc door, he was shocked to see that the orc leader is holding its children. One of the orc leader's children holds his feet and begs not to hurt them. Sun Jiun remembers his parents, saving him, but suddenly the orc child grabbed a knife in its back and tried to attack him, but Sun Jiun killed it first. The orc leader and the other child tried to attack him, but he killed them easily. Sun Jiun completed his second trial and come back to the waiting room. Sun Jiun opened the community and saw that half of the members died, but he was most interested to see that one of the members know the way to return to Earth. Suddenly the virtual screen explains that they can make a question, and the moderator will reply every time they enter a new floor. In the 5th floor there's a stone that's for sale you can use to go back to Earth for a couple of days. There's also information that beyond the 7th floor, an extensive system expansion will occur and items that can make you permanently return to Earth are sold. Song Yoon thinks if he can return to Earth with his abilities, he can become a rank hunter. Sun Jiun realizes that he barely completed the 2nd floor, which means the 8th floor is harder, but he chooses to be positive and absorb the stock of black fog within him. After absorbing the black fog, Sun Jiun's strength, stamina, agility, and magic power increased more. Sun Jiun feels that his strength is overflowing and he runs fast until he bumps into the wall because of his unexpected growth. His physical body is insane. Sun Jiun buys a new shield called Big Dead Tree and gets the rewards from his previous trial, which are the black steel dagger sword and assassin's cape. Sun Jiun is fully equipped and decided to practice before his next trial because he wanted to become so strong that no one can approach him. Eventually, his 3rd trial comes and his mission is to duel. Sun Jiun was dropped into the cage and warned that any second the Guardian of Darkness will come. When the time countdown, Sun Jiun prepared himself, but when he was waiting for his enemy, the Guardian of Darkness named Doppelganger cut him without him noticing it coming toward him. Sang Yoon tried to fight back, but the Doppelganger avoided his attack immediately. Sun Jiun was facing the Doppelganger while healing his wounds. Suddenly he realizes that the Doppelganger is copying his moves. He attacked the Doppelganger and cut it, but the Doppelganger healed itself, which made Sun Jiun realize that it had healing skills too. The Doppelganger attacked him the same way he did, but Sun Jiun avoided it. Sun Jiun attacked back, planning to exploit his weak swordsmanship to take it down, but when he thought that he can kill it, the Doppelganger has become stronger and moved differently, which made Sun Jiun back off with a cut in his neck. The Doppelganger attacked again in the same way he did, and luckily he avoided it. But he realized that he can't just avoid everything because he only had 1 minute. He activated his assassin's cape that can give him plus 15% speed. Sun Jiun dashes towards the Doppelganger, and when he's about to get close, the Doppelganger attacks him, but he dodges it. Then he kicks its hand and stab right in the shoulder, but when he pulls out his sword, the Doppelganger copy his move. Then the Doppelganger hit his hand, cutting it. Sun Jiun screams in pain, and when he noticed that the Doppelganger is not moving and it was his chance to kill it, but he can't kill it without his sword, Sun Jiun decided to use his shield and run toward the Doppelganger because he thinks it was better to try than die in vain. When he was close to the Doppelganger, the monster attempted to attack him, but he pushed the monster very hard, which made the Doppelganger bounce in every corner of the cage, which made the Doppelganger crushed on the ground before the Doppelganger can stand up. Sun Jiun approaches the Doppelganger and uses his shield to attack it, cutting its head. After Sun Jiun killed the Doppelganger and proceed to the 4th floor's waiting room. All his wounds healed, and to test it, he placed his hand on the wall and tries to punch it. The wall smashed and Sun Jiun confirmed he was fully healed. After Sun Jiun absorbs the Doppelganger black fog, his unique trait Necromancy reached 100% proficiency and ranks up to Necromancy E from Necromancy F. Sun Jiun additional effect also upgrades, and when he absorbs a dead spirit, he can randomly obtain one awakened skill of the spirit too. Sun Jiun entered the community and he saw the information about the next trial. He was shocked to read that the next trial will be competition amongst hunters, which means killing each other. Suddenly the virtual screen showed that Sun Jiun matched with another challenger. The 4th floor trial will begin, and the remaining time is 1 day. His mission is to defeat the Goblin King, and the failure penalty is death. Sun Jiun gets teleported outside of the Goblin King's castle with other people and meets his team. His team introduces their name. One is a girl named Lee Hayan. She was an E-rank hunter, and the other one is named Lee Sung-hoon. He was a D-rank hunter. When Sun Jiun introduced himself and said he was an aspiring hunter, Sung-hoon mocked him and said he shouldn't bother him. When Sun Jiun tried to assure Sung-hoon just ignored his words and commanded him to stay in the back and take care of the mobs. Sun Jiun didn't disagree to Sung-hoon because he thinks that Sung-hoon was skilled enough to back up his words and that the Tower of the Trial skill is all that matters. The three were waiting to open the castle door. The theme of the trial is 3 versus 3. When the door opens, the three goblin attack Sun-hoon, who is currently in the front. Sun-hoon shouts Sun Ji-hoon to help. Sun Ji-hoon can't believe that Sun-hoon was weak. Meanwhile, Sun-hoon shouting help to Hae-in, who currently completing the spell. Sun Ji-hoon, who was disappointed, excused himself for a moment to Hae-in to help Sun-hoon. Shocked, Hae-in tried to stop him because he need to watch her back, but when she looked back, all the goblins were killed. Sun Ji-hoon runs towards Sun-hoon, who is currently being attacked by many goblins. When the goblin throws attack to Sun-hoon, he avoided it, but suddenly he didn't notice another goblin in his front who tried to attack him, but before Sun-hoon got killed, Sun Ji-hoon arrived and killed the goblin. Sun Ji-hoon asks Sun-hoon to stay back because he's bothering him, and then runs to kill all the goblins in his way, which made Sun-hoon shocked. Sun-hoon obtained the accomplishment of the Goblin Hunter. After Sun Ji-hoon killed all the weak goblins, he absorbs all of the goblin black fog. Sun Ji-hoon thinks his members can't see his unique traits, so he comfortably absorbs the black fog. Sun Ji-hoon's strength, agility, stamina, and endurance increased again. Also, he possessed one goblin skill. The skill is the Ranger's Knowledge F, and its effect is to widen his view in the field. Sun Ji-hoon feels his eyesight widen and he thinks he hit a jackpot. Suddenly Sun-hoon said that Sun Ji-hoon was lucky because he can kill the weak goblins, but Sun Ji-hoon and Hae-in just stared at him blankly. Then Sun Ji-hoon suggests that he'll be the one who will take a lead and give out commands because it's better for the party efficiency, and looked at Sun-hoon to ask if he had a problem to his suggestion. Sun-hoon accepts his offer shyly and asks him what his position is. Sun Ji-hoon answers he just needs to protect her, and Sun Ji-hoon command her to continue guiding them from the back. Hae-in immediately agreed and the team resumes the search. Sun Ji-hoon killed all the goblins that were in their way and absorbed their black fog, which made his skills increase. While walking, they noticed that the goblin appeared periodically but suddenly quiet. Sun Ji-hoon notices something and runs toward it. Sun-hoon and Hae-in were confused and follow him. Then they saw killed goblins on the ground, which means other challengers have gone through first. Sun Ji-hoon checks the blood of the dead goblin on the ground and it is still warm. Sun Ji-hoon said if they hurry, they can catch up to another team, because if the other team gets the boss before them, they will receive the penalty, which is death. Meanwhile, the other team was outside the door of the Goblin King, killing all the goblins. The man named Lee Seon said that he's slowly starting to be bored killing the goblins and asks his member if it was the last batch of the goblins and killed all the goblins at once. His member praised him, but he was pissed because he was the only one hunting the goblins. Seon mocks his member named Jinwoo because he carried him. Jinwoo awkwardly disagrees, but Seon commands him to open the boss room's door. Jinwoo followed his order immediately, but when he tried to come near the door, the virtual screen announced that all members of the challengers team enter the Goblin King Spiral Tower, and the boss battle will begin when only one of the two teams remain and then block their location out. Seon asks his team what's going on. Then one of his members pointed to Sun Ji-hoon's team that walking towards them. The two teams faced each other. Sun Ji-hoon decided that he was the one who will fight the other team and asks Hae-in to provide him agility buff only. Then she can give all the remaining buffs to Sun-hoon. Hae-in advised Sun Ji-hoon that he was strong, but human hunters might be more frightening than monsters. Sun Ji-hoon understands her and asks her if it gets dangerous, he will let her know. Hae-in agreed and then give additional agility to Sun Ji-hoon for 10 minutes. Sun Ji-hoon walks toward the other members, confident that he was better than the average hunter, and killed more than 30 goblins in the castle. Sun Ji-hoon confirmed that he can win the battle and run toward the other team. Meanwhile, the other team was ready for his attacks. When Seon sees that Sun Ji-hoon was running fast, he immediately jumps on his member's back and commands Jinwoo to use his shield with all his power. Jinwoo opened his shield, but Sun Ji-hoon attacked, broke it easily, and made Jinwoo push back. Sun Ji-hoon took the opportunity and killed Jinwoo and the other man instantly, shocking his member. Sun Ji-hoon looked at Seon and attacked him, but Sun Ji-hoon realized that Seon can block his attack in a strange manner even though he was stronger than him. Sun Ji-hoon decided to use more of his strength and attack Seon from the back. But when he thinks he can kill Seon, Seon blocks his attack again. Then he notices that Seon can see the path of his sword. Seon steps back, but Sun Ji-hoon throws his shield and blocking Seon's vision and then stabs him with his sword. After killing the other team, Sun Ji-hoon and his team accomplished the special task, but Hae-in noticed that Sun Ji-hoon's hands were shaking and asked him if he was okay. Sun Ji-hoon said he was fine, but Hae-in thinks that Sun Ji-hoon was shocked after killing a person. Sun Ji-hoon asks his member if it was fine if they proceed to fight the boss straight away. Hae-in and Sun-hoon agreed, then they proceed to attack the King Goblin. Sun Ji-hoon killed the King Goblin easily. Then he and his team completed the 4th floor trials, and their reward for completion is an increase in all stats by 4, and he obtained a skill instant acceleration. The virtual screen asks them to move to the lobby and then open a portal. Sun-hoon suggests going first, leaving Hae-in and Sun Ji-hoon. Sun Ji-hoon wished Hae-in safety return. Hae-in noticed Sun Ji-hoon's sadness and said that he just did what he needed to do, and if Sun Ji-hoon couldn't do it, she would have. Sun Ji-hoon was thankful for Hae-in's kind words. Then Heian sent a friend request to him before Heian goes into the portal. She thanked Sun Jun for finishing the 4th floor for them, and Heian asked Sun Jun to look for her in the Silver Guild when he returned to the Earth. Then Heian left. Sun Jun was left alone and needed to decide if he going to absorb a human soul or not. When he first found out he can absorb other souls, he put it off because he knew that if he did it, then he would have crossed a line, but he made up his mind. He must get stronger, but he won't kill people to achieve that. However, if the situation demands it, then he will. Sun Jun entered the lobby of the 5th floor, then the system expanded. Their system will grade every challenger's rank. The virtual screen asks him to enter his alias, then Sun Jun entered Hunter, then he opened up the leaderboard. When he tries to find what rank he is, he sees that he is in the 16th place. The virtual screen explained that the challenger in the top 50 will be called pioneers, and pioneers will obtain benefits on the 8th floor. If Sun Jun remains a pioneer until the 8th floor, he will obtain a privilege called a halo. When Sun Hoon has done reading the information, he absorbs the black fog of Sion, Jinhu, and the Goblin King. Sun Jun feels like he surpassed the limits of a human, then he purchased a return stone that will be able to return to where he came from for 3 days. Sun Jun used the stone, wondering if he can bring his equipment with him to the Earth. Sun Jun consumed the returning stone and he was dragged to be returned to Earth. Sun Jun woke up in his room. Then he sat up and looked at his surrounding. When he confirmed he was on Earth, he decided to back to sleep, but he can't stand his smelly smell. Then he decided to wash up first. When he was going to stand up, he stepped to his equipment from the tower and he realized that he need to move quickly because when more members starts returning to Earth, items will also become plentiful and the price for the hunter supplies could be plummet. Sun Jun need to sell his equipment as possible, but the problem is only people with hunter qualifications can sell items. Then he made a call to his past coach. His coach answered his call, then Sun Jun asks if he remember him. The coach said yes, and if he want a refund he can just do it online, but Sun Jun said he doesn't need a refund and asked his coach to help him to take the hunter test again. The coach reminded him his last hunter test failed and tried to stop him because he was talentless, but when the coach heard Sun Jun said that he was willing to pay, the coach accepts his request immediately. Then the deal is closed. Sun Jun coach will help him take a test immediately. Sun Jun immediately washes up. When he was done, he notices his body in the mirror and thinks his body progressed, but he brushed it off because the hunter test has been scheduled. Then he got dressed, then goes outside. Sun Jun can't get a taxi, then he realizes that he has skills. So he decided to run fast and then jump building by building until he's at the Hunter Association building. Sun Jun enters the building and then meets his past coach named Mr. Wang. Suddenly the inspector came in, who interrupted them saying he is the one grading his hunter tests, and then explains that Sun Jun was exempted from the interview due to his coach being an observer, and who asks them to go inside to start their test immediately. While Sun Jun was waiting for his test to start, Mr. Wang asks Inhu to make it hard for Sun Jun, so he failed immediately, and Inhu answered that Wang don't need to worry because he prepared the most difficult sword user. Inhu asks Sun Jun to select the difficulty of the test because chooses difficulties 1 to 10. Sun Jun remembers the previous test that he always did level 1 and always lost to a goblin because he was weak. When Sun Jun tried to choose his difficulty, Wang shouted he should pick level 1, but Wang was shocked to hear that Sun Jun picked level 10. Sun Jun looked up at Mr. Wang and Wang thinks he was a crazy bastard. Sun Jun's test has begun and his mission was to kill the phoenix. Suddenly his movement speed decreased by 25% due to the roar of the phoenix, and before his test, Mr. Wang sabotaged his weapon to make sure he brutally failed and then know his place for acting up. Mr. Wang wants Sun Jun to fail because when he first became a hunter, he felt like he was the best. However, the gap between his colleagues started to grow and he couldn't catch up, so he gave up. Wang realizes that hunters were born with talent was everything. He accepts the fact and stopped working hard because humans give up when the wall is in their front, and he wanted Sun Jun to give up too. Phoenix attacked Sun Jun when Sun Jun tried to fight. His sword broke into 2 pieces and then stepped back. He knows that no matter how low the weapon is, it shouldn't break into 2. Then he looked up at Mr. Wang and realized Wang sabotaged him. The phoenix attacked him again with its fire, but Sun Jun activated his acceleration and then jumped to the ceiling. The phoenix tried to attack him again, but Sun Jun jumped towards phoenix faster and stabbed it in the eye, then land on the ground. Pick a broken tile, then throw it to the phoenix head, which made the phoenix head cut in half, and also the handler of the balcony where Wang and Inhu were observing gets hit. His test was completed and asks Wang and Inhu if they were okay with a sarcastic voice. After the test, Sun Jun gets his hunter ID, his rank C, and his type is close combat. The lady explained that he was an official hunter and he can enter the dungeon, also can sell items. Meanwhile, in another room, Mr. Wang was angry with Inhu because Inhu didn't make Sun Jun fail, but Inhu answered he did his best and make things difficult to Sun Jun. Mr. Wang asks if Inhu can lower Sun Jun's rank a little more, but Inhu answered he lowered his rank and he couldn't lower it more. Suddenly they were interrupted when Sun Jun entered the room. Sun Ji-yoon walked toward Mr. Wang and asks why Wang looks unwell. Mr. Wang congratulates him in an irritated way, but Sun Ji-yoon asks Mr. Wang if his past rank before he retired is rank C. Mr. Wang asks why. Then Sun Ji-yoon reminds him that he called him a failure last time and he thinks Mr. Wang is the failure. Mr. Wang got angry and attacked him, but Sun Ji-yoon avoided him easily. Then Sun Ji-yoon stepped back and punched Mr. Wang's stomach hard, then said his attack was called self-defense. Sun Ji-yoon also slapped Mr. Wang's face and called it payback. After his revenge on Mr. Wang, he goes outside with Manhwa. Manhwa asks him to be an exclusive hunter for the Hunter Association, then hand him his business card, and explains that his salary was 1,000,000 won and that if he likes it more he can negotiate. Sun Ji-yoon thinks that the salary is quite high. Manhwa tried to convince him, but Sun Ji-yoon said he know that Manhwa manipulated his test but he won't make it a problem. But he can't be in contact with someone he can't trust and then throw Manhwa's business card. 2 days later, Sun Ji-yoon watched the news about the strange phenomenon where hunters have been summoned to the Tower of Trials. Sun Ji-yoon thinks he sold his equipment at a decent price and used his 3 days very productively. Sun Ji-yoon just waited for his time while holding his equipment. The virtual screen showed up and dragged him back to the Tower of Trials. Sun Ji-yoon was happy because he can grow stronger again and he will be busy when he returns. Sun Ji-yoon finally comes back to the tower, and then he checks the item he bought from the earth. Sun Ji-yoon put his item in his inventory, then he tumbles out of the bed. Sun Ji-yoon decided to warm up before going to the 5th floor's trial. Suddenly, the virtual screen showed him that he was the first returner and obtained an Eye of the Truth skill. The Eye of the Truth gives Sun Ji-yoon the ability to view the details of anything and determine the truth of a person's words. Sun Ji-yoon thinks that he was lucky to view the details behind items and people's lives while browsing the virtual market. Sun Ji-yoon purchased a thunder sword and a secretive hunter's shield. Then Sun Ji-yoon practiced using them, realizing that even though the item was expensive, the sword's bonus effects are good. The thunder sword can paralyze the opponent when it hit them by a 10% chance. Sun Ji-yoon opens the trial, then he enters the portal going to the 5th floor. The virtual screen showed that Sun Ji-yoon entered the 5th floor trial and his mission is to defeat the wolf person, the boss of the Wolf Gorge. His remaining time is 1 day. His trial reward is a wolf person's headband, and his penalty, if he failed, was death. Sun Ji-yoon teleported to the wolf territory, where the pack of wolves are waiting for him. The wolves attack him, then Sun Ji-yoon killed all of the wolves easily. When he kicked the last wolf he thought he was wondering why the wolves are weak. Suddenly the wolf hit on Crazy Wolf feet. When Sun Ji-yoon looked up he saw a pack of crazy wolves. One crazy wolf bites the wolf in half, then the crazy wolves look at Sun Ji-yoon. Sun Ji-yoon smiled because he feels that the Tower of Trial begin. The crazy wolves attack him. Sun Ji-yoon jumps from his position, then attacks the wolves and kills the crazy wolves that are in his way. After he killed most of the crazy wolves, his hunter dagger skill reached 100%, and also upgrade to E+ rank. Sun Ji-yoon's fast recovery skill also risen to D rank. The left crazy wolves attack him again, which made Sun Ji-yoon excited. After killing all the crazy wolves, Sun Ji-yoon absorbed all the crazy wolf spirits and his proficiency increased to 16%. Sun Ji-yoon continues walking toward the center of the Wolf Gorge. Suddenly he notices that the place was full of dead wolves. Sun Ji-yoon checks the dead wolf on the ground and realizes that they have been killed with a sword. Sun Ji-yoon notices the traces in the near stone. Then he uses his Eye of the Truth and saw that the slice was made from the aura. Sun Ji-yoon thinks there are a lot of things that he didn't know and he feels a little unsettled. Suddenly he heard a loud roar. Sun Ji-yoon knows it was close by. Then he ran toward the noise. When is near and can see the cage. Suddenly the wolf person was flying out, then it bounces in the ground like a rag doll, which made Sun Ji-yoon confused. The virtual showed that the wolf person has died and his new mission is to kill the interdimensional intruder. Sun Ji-yoon was looking at the intruder while wondering if the Tower of Trials exists in other dimensions. Sun Ji-yoon was confused about what's going on. Suddenly the intruder asks him why he was still alive for a measly barbaric challenger from another dimension, and asks him if he was the owner of the trial. The intruder asks Sun Ji-yoon why he's not answering and if he was scared. Sun Ji-yoon knows that the intruder was not a normal guy. Sun Ji-yoon didn't think that another challenger would steal his trials, but he was glad that the virtual screen didn't acknowledge failing his trial. When Sun Ji-yoon didn't speak, the intruder decided to attack. Sun Ji-yoon ready himself, and the intruder ran towards Sun Ji-yoon. Sun Ji-yoon kicked the dead wolf person on the ground in the intruder's way. The intruder sliced the wolf person in half. Then Sun Ji-yoon grabbed the opportunity to run towards the intruder's back, then attack the intruder's armor, but Sun Ji-yoon was shocked because his plan to slice the intruder's armor failed. The intruder faced him, then attacked him. Fortunately, Sun Ji-yoon shielded himself in time, but his shield broke into two. The intruder sent him flying to the pile of stone, which made his one hand broken. The intruder laughs while mocking Sun Ji-yoon for blocking his aura. Sun Ji-yoon got angry and asks the intruder what he means by his words. The intruder notices that Sun Ji-yoon didn't know about the class invading while Sun Ji-yoon is wondering why there has an intruder in his trials. The intruder said he shouldn't be resentful because the Tower of Trials is usually like this, and the intruder said he'll finish him now and stop dragging it on. Suddenly Sun Ji-yoon stops him and asks if he can explain to him the class invading before he kills him, which made the intruder think for a while and then agree since he's going to die soon. The intruder explains in the virtual store he can purchase the invading ticket, and he can interfere in other people's trials. Sun Ji-yoon asks the intruder if he was from another world. The intruder asks him where else he thinks he came from, but Sun Ji-yoon stands up and said never mind. Sun Ji-yoon uses his eye of the truth and sees that the intruder was telling the truth. The intruder got angry because Sun Ji-yoon was doing something to piss him off and tell him how dare he judge him. Sun Ji-yoon asks the intruder what are he going to do about it in a mocking tone. The intruder got angry and then tried to attack Sun Ji-yoon, but Sun Ji-yoon suddenly said he got the information he needed and that he'll tell him something amusing, which made the intruder stop. Sun Ji-yoon explains that the pain in his arm is quite bearable due to his pain resistance skill, and he's not holding it because of the pain. Sun Ji-yoon lets go of his hand, and then his skill fast recovery automatically heals it. Sun Ji-yoon also said he need to act helpless so the intruder can give him information, which made the intruder shocked. The intruder got angry realizing Sun Ji-yoon was a healing type swordsman. However, the intruder said the fact that Sun Ji-yoon will die won't change. Sun Ji-yoon kicks his sword up on the ground and catches it while asking the intruder what he should do because his full strength keeps on increasing. Sun Ji-yoon used all of his possessed evil spirits and his stats permanently increased. Sun Ji-yoon's strength increased by 2, his agility and stamina increased by 3, his magic power increased by 5, and his durability increased by 7, which made the intruder shocked. Sun Ji-yoon Assassin Cap also has been activated. His movement speed increased by 15%, and his reaming trial time is only 59 seconds. Sun Ji-yoon ready himself, activate his instant acceleration, then run toward the intruder and attack him. The intruder realizes that his restrictions on his stat are severe since he's on the 5th floor. The intruder got really angry, then used his aura and attacked Sun Ji-yoon. Sun Ji-yoon avoided it, but the intruder attacked him again, which he avoided again. Sun Ji-yoon thinks he'll be dangerous if he gets hit by aura skill since it's high rank, but he realizes his stats are better than the intruder's stats and is confident that he can avoid the intruder's attack. Sun Ji-yoon realizes the problem is the intruder armor, because it's high-rank equipment that he can't destroy with his current abilities. However, Sun Ji-yoon realizes that if he continues to hit the armor, he can put the intruder and his armor in lightning. Suddenly, the intruder got hit by lightning because of the thunder sword. The intruder was down on the ground. Sun Ji-yoon was grateful that the armor don't have a paralysis resistance because he was done if it have. The intruder tried to stand up, but he was paralyzed. The intruder said in normal circumstances he should have won and asked Sun Ji-yoon how a mere challenger like him has many skills. Sun Ji-yoon responded that he was careless for trusting in his armor and his high-ranking skills while walking toward the intruder. Sun Ji-yoon wants to finish the trial and tries to attack the intruder. Suddenly the intruder said he can give him answers if he wanted him, but Sun Ji-yoon said he doesn't need it, then stabbed the intruder, which made the intruder die. Sun Ji-yoon thinks he's becoming numb when it comes to killing. However, he feels uncomfortable every time he kills someone. The virtual screen congratulates him for completing the 5th floor. Suddenly Sun Ji-yoon noticed that the intruder's soul going away. Sun Ji-yoon immediately absorbs the intruder's soul. The virtual screen showed he absorbed the soul of a challenger named Katadrax and his proficiency increased by 15%. Sun Ji-yoon thinks he almost couldn't absorb the intruder's soul and he wonders if he dies in another dimension, will he disappear? Sun Ji-yoon also wonders why isn't any reward message popping up. Suddenly the virtual screen showed that all of his rewards will be modified, which made Sun Ji-yoon confused. The virtual screen said Sun Ji-yoon obtained the skill named 3 Lacerations. He also obtained 7,500 points and an additional 3,500 points. Sun Ji-yoon's C- rank reward was replaced by an A- rank reward. Seeing all the rewards he gets, Sun Ji-yoon can't hide his happiness. Sun Ji-yoon enters the lobby of the 6th floor. While Sun Ji-yoon takes off his cape, he opens his inventory, and the virtual screen shows his current item. Sun Ji-yoon sits on the ground and realizes that dimensional invasion exists, and he can't let his guard down in the Tower of Trials. Sun Ji-yoon really wanted to save his question voucher till he reached the 8th floor, but he still sent a question about what floor invasion exactly, and whether or not he can be alerted as soon as an invasion occurs. After he sent his question, the reply immediately arrived. Sun Ji-yoon opened the reply and read the letter that a floor invasion is a system where he can invade a challenger's trial when it's within the first 10 classes. However, he cannot interfere with special trials such as a combined trial, and the system he acquired is on the 8th floor that he cannot currently use. Sunjun clicks the screen while thinking that it was a climbing breaker, but suddenly the virtual screen said he cannot receive information about the topic because of his current floor, and only the first part of his question received a reply, so his question voucher will not be consumed. Which made Sunjun thinks that the question voucher isn't powerful at all, but is glad it didn't use his question voucher. Sunjun decided to get the item he got on Earth, then he get all of his items in inventory. Sunjun used his Croken Magic Tower's restoration box to restore his shield. Then he used the cleaning stone and realizes that the cleaning stone was not a waste of money because he feels fresh. The virtual screen shows 1 hour and 12 minutes before he proceeds to the 6th floor trial. Sunjun decided to look at the trial leaderboard and the community board because he still have so much time. Sunjun saw he is third in trials leaderboard and realized he had gone up a lot from 16th in rank. Sunjun thinks he's getting closer to obtaining the benefit of a continuous pioneer, and he needs to see what he can get when he reaches the 8th floor. Sunjun entered the community and read that the other member of the community was selling a psychological resistance skill, arguing and calling each other murderer. Sunjun thinks the current community was chaotic and wonders what happens to them. Sunjun knows that the psychological resistance skill which is being sold actively is the same as a double-edged sword, and although the effect of it negating psychological shock is enticing, he'll never have any problem if he just keeps using the skill to erase psychological pain. Sunjun thought was interrupted when he read a message from someone in the community who said the person who gave them information about the 4th floor changed his nickname to Princess Sudi. The other member of the community thinks Princess Sudi is the challenger that screwed up the mood in the 4th floor lobby, which made Sunjun angry. Sunjun decided to remember Princess Sudi name for now because his 6th floor trial begins. Sunjun's mission is to capture one of the surrounding tiles within the time limit. His time limit is 50 minutes. His trial reward is a randomly picked box, and his penalty for failure is death. Sunjun was transported in the middle of the ocean. The virtual screen said his teammate allocation has been completed and he needs to cooperate with his teammate and complete the trial. Sunjun was waiting in the open portal and was confused why his teammate not coming out. Suddenly spear come out of the portal attacking Sunjun. Fortunately, Sunjun avoided it and caught the spear. Sunjun pulled the spear, then the man controlling the spear got dragged out, then thrown on the ground. Sunjun asks the man why he attacking his own teammate. The man responded he'll know if he looked at the community board, which made Sunjun remember other members of the community said murdering is the easiest way to obtain achievements. Sunjun asks the man if a killing teammate doesn't matter as long as he can obtain power. The man said is acting hypocritical and he should look around him. Sunjun saw other people killing their teammates for their achievements. Sunjun sees the girl who just killed her teammate achieve dirty murderer skill and her durability increases by 1. Sunjun's teammates ask him if he also wants the achievement. When the man noticed Sunjun not paying attention to him, he decided to attack Sunjun. But Sunjun killed him without even looking at him. The dying man wonders how Sunjun can move fast. The virtual screen said he achieved traitor achievement and his strength increased by 1. Sunjun thinks the special trial or a combined trial is not different from an event to him. Sunjun starts to run while thinking he won't go out of his way to kill other challengers, but he also won't ignore the one who attacks him. Meanwhile, in another place, the man said Iron Dome, which made a barrier of water around him. The man was happy saying the trial is made for someone like him, who knew to use water attributes. Suddenly the man notices someone running toward him. Then Sunjun jumped to enter the man's water barrier, which made the man think he's crazy. Sunjun kicked the Iron Dome barrier, then the man laughed and said that his barrier was a bulletproof Iron Dome. Suddenly the man's words cut when Sunjun entered the barrier, kicking the man in the face, which made the man fly to the ground. Sunjun thinks he did it a little cruelly, but he realizes he did well because the other members who saw what he did to the man fear him. Sunjun wants achievement, but he doesn't want to commit unnecessary murder. The virtual screen said he captured the tile and he just need to stop another team to step on the tiles in 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Sunjun just needs to endure 10 minutes on his tiles. While waiting on the remaining time, he realizes that the most challengers around him are low rank, and that might be the reason why the trials are easy for him. Sunjun also realizes that the 6th floor's trial made him think about a lot of things like distrusting others, the reality of low-ranking challengers, and the Tower of Trial's gloominess. But misplacing compassion is real hypocrisy, and even if he spared the challengers who came at his tiles and sent them away to another tile, someone will die. His thought was interrupted when the virtual screen said someone invaded his tile. Sunjun looked behind his back and saw a group of men walking towards him. One man asked Sunjun if he thinking why are 4 people are there when it's a 2-person team. Sunjun responded that it was obvious just by looking at them, and Sunjun called them 4 gangsters who have created a murder party to get the achievement. The man said is right and that he should die. Suddenly 2 other men run toward him to attack. Sun Ji-yoon stands up to fight back. Then the third man used his heart solidarity skill on Sun Ji-yoon. The man who chanted the skill is named Kim Jin-han and he will share his pain with Sun Ji-yoon. Jin-hyun grabs the knife and then stabs it into his hand. Sun Ji-yoon felt the pain and unhands his sword. Sun Ji-yoon activated his pain resistance skill and the virtual screens at all types of pain have reduced by 15%. Suddenly the other man is in his front, then the man throws water at him. Sun Ji-yoon realized it was seawater. The virtual screen said he touched the water from the trial, so his strength, agility, and stamina decreased by 10, also his penalty time decreased to 2 minutes and 59 seconds. Sun Ji-yoon didn't know that there was a penalty for touching the water. The 4 men run toward him to attack him. Sun Ji-yoon thinks the situation of him was worse if he was a normal challenger. The 2 men who are near him attack him, but Sun Ji-yoon immediately avoided it. Sun Ji-yoon said their plan of stealing the weapons to lower their stats as much as possible was quite good. However, they made a grave mistake because they come to the wrong opponent. Then Sun Ji-yoon grabs the face of one man, then slams him on the ground, which made a huge impact on the ground. His 3 other enemy was shocked by what they witnessed. Sun Ji-yoon obtains the 1-hit, 1-kill achievement, and the virtual screen showed that the Extinction of the Weak has been created. Skill, Extinction of the Weak F. The effect is if the user's stats were higher than his opponent's stats, the user's strength will increase proportionally. Suddenly the other man attacks him from the back. The virtual screen said his enemy's stats are lower than his, so his skill Extinction of the Weak skill activated. Also, his strength increased by 1. Sun Ji-yoon avoided, which made his enemy shocked. Then Sun Ji-yoon kneeled him in the face. Then Sun Ji-yoon spun in the air and kicked his enemy's head. Sun Ji-yoon acquired the Merciless Murderer achievement and his agility increased by 1. His 2 left enemy was shocked to see how he killed their ally. Sun Ji-yoon was walking toward his 2 enemies. Jin-hyun asks his ally if they should attack Sun Ji-yoon together. Suddenly his ally cuts his knee, which made him shocked and fell in pain. Sun Ji-yoon also felt pain in his knee, then he bends his knee on the ground. Sun Ji-yoon knows that he was sharing Jin-hyun pain, but he was grateful that he doesn't deal the actual damage, and the only problem is that the pain restricts his movements. On the other hand, Jin-hyun was shouting at his ally, but he stopped when his ally pointed a sword at him. Suddenly his ally stabs him, which Sun Ji-yoon can feel too. The man warned Sun Ji-yoon to not come any closer to him or he's going to slit Jin-hyun's throat. Sun Ji-yoon was thankful for pain resistance skills because he can still move, even his in pain. Sun Ji-yoon ready himself because he only thinks one only way. Then he throws his shield with force toward Jin-hyun that goes through Jin-hyun's neck. Sun Ji-yoon also felt the pain, and he kneeled on the ground. His enemy takes his chance and runs toward Sun Ji-yoon. He tried to attack Sun Ji-yoon, but suddenly Sun Ji-yoon catches his sword, which made him shocked. Sun Ji-yoon asks him if he would like to experience the feeling of slitting his throat because it was so thrilling. The man smiles because he knows he is screwed. Sun Ji-yoon breaks the point of the sword he's holding, then grabs it in one hand, then runs toward his enemy and slices enemy's head. Sun Ji-yoon acquired the Iron Blood Climber achievement and obtained 15 points. The virtual screen showed that he reached the time limit and he captured the tiles. The other team who didn't betray their teammates celebrated because they survive. Sun Ji-yoon realizes that in the end, those who won were the ones who remained a team, and he knows that there were exceptions. Sun Ji-yoon wonders if he looks like a monster in other people's eyes. Suddenly, the virtual screen congratulates him for completing the 6th floor, and his reward random gacha box B has been sent to his inventory. Also, he obtained 8,000 points. The virtual screen asks him to move to the lobby, but before he goes, Sun Ji-yoon saw the fog of the soul of his enemy, and he absorbed them all. The virtual screen said his unique trait Necromancy has reached 100% proficiency, and his unique trait Necromancy was increased by Necromancy D. Sun Ji-yoon entered the lobby of the 7th floor. The virtual screen said his achievement viewing function has been activated, which made him confused. The virtual screen showed his list of achievements. Sun Ji-yoon decided to look at the details and click on his achievement. The virtual screen showed how he get his achievement, rank by rank. When he gets the achievements, he also receives a variety of rewards like skills, stats, points, and more. Sun Ji-yoon opens his inventory and saw his random gacha box B. The virtual screen explained that when he opened the box, he can be guaranteed to get an item in the ranger from F to B rank. Sun Ji-yoon gets his box and thinks that the 6th floor reward is a bit ambiguous, that he shouldn't expect too much. Sun Ji-yoon decided to open the box. When it opened, suddenly something jumped from it. It spun in the air, then landed on the ground facing him, which made him shocked. Sun Ji-yoon was facing it, confused if he was supposed to catch it. He tried to grab it, but the small monster avoided him easily. Sun Ji-yoon tried to grab the small monster over and over again, but it was fast. Sun Ji-yoon jumped and finally caught it. He was happy to catch it, but suddenly the cute monster bites his arm, which made him ungrab the monster because of the pain. The small monster jumped away from him. Sun Jun said he was going too easy on it because it was cute, which made the small monster shake in fear. Sun Jun jumps to grab the monster again, but the monster avoided it and jumps high. Sun Jun jumps higher, spin in the air, then kick the ceiling to make a force, and ready himself to punch the small monster's head. Sun Jun landed a punch to the monster. The virtual screen said it was a critical hit, which made the monster's head swollen. Then the monster explodes and releases the necklace. The virtual screen congratulates him on obtaining the best rank item from the random gacha box. Sun Jun thinks if it was the best rank item then it's from A or B rank. The pendant in the necklace is named a wrought iron pendant. It was imbued with the soul of a blacksmith who had worked with iron their whole life. Sun Jun metallurgy and sword skill effect increased by 7%, and using magic power will activate the exclusive effect of iron's protection. The necklace landed on Sun Jun hand. Sun Jun wondered what is iron's protection, and he decided to try it out. Sun Jun activates the iron protection, then his skin develops a property that absorbs 10% of all physical damage. Sun Jun thinks the item he gets is much better than most rank items because it's an overpowered item with both attack and defense properties. Sun Jun was happy because he didn't expect much, but got an amazing item. But when he wore the necklace he felt drained. The virtual screen said all of his magic power has been consumed and the iron protection has been deactivated. Sun Jun thinks the exclusive effect that drains magic power was crazy, but he decided to save his magic power and only use it during important moments. After Sun Jun has done to get his reward, he decided to check his unique trait that has increased to D rank. But suddenly the virtual screen asks him if he was ready to enter the 7th floor, which made him confused because he thought he need to wait in order to challenge the next trial. Still, Sun Jun thinks it is okay while wondering if everyone experiences the same. Sun Jun decided to open the community first and read that the waiting time for the trial is gone. In the chat room, the members were okay with the situation because they thinks that they'll get more benefits if they enter the tower faster. Sun Jun realizes that other members aren't interested in the pioneer benefits because they just want to go home. Sun Jun also realizes that the atmosphere on the 7th floor was completely different from the 6th floor because the murdering maniacs are probably all staying quietly since the next trial is an individual one. Sun Jun knows that he should be careful of the murdering maniacs, who killed their teammate without hesitation, and more importantly he needs to increase his unwavering skill. Sun Jun next checks his unique trait necromancy. The virtual screen showed his basic effect that said he can absorb the souls of the dead to either enhance or recover that stats and magic power, which made Sun Jun confused because his basic effect become a little more specific. Sun Jun remembers that his previous basic effects only enhanced his basic stats, but now he can also use souls for power or a shield. Sun Jun expects his probability of absorbing skills to increase because he needs a defensive ability. Sun Jun grabs a sword in inventory and throws it in the air because he decides to test how great the soul shield is. Sun Jun stretched his hand, thinking if his arms gets cut off, he can still recover because he was in the lobby while waiting for the sword to land in his arm. When the swords landed on his arm, the virtual screen showed that the soul has absorbed his injury, and the soul of the player named Song Jinwook disappeared. The number of his possessed souls is 3/30. Sun Jun grabbed the sword, then he looked at his arm, amazed that the soul shield is better than he thought. He also realizes that he shouldn't absorb all the souls because it's better to leave some to use as shields. Sun Jun opens the trial leaderboard and he saw that he was 4th in rank. He was confused why he ranked down by 1, but he thinks it's not important because he just needs to be within the top 50 to be a pioneer. Sun Jun feels testing in the lobby is getting boring and he decided to go to the next trial. Sun Jun enters the 7th floor trial. His mission is to complete 3 trials before the time is up. His remaining time is 40 minutes, and the reward he will get is skill wins grace a minus, and if he failed the penalty is death. Sun Jun was transported to a corridor, and he thinks that his current trial is completely different from his previous trials. Sun Jun decided to walk while annoyed because he can't feel anything. Suddenly he saw a light at the end of the corridor. The light shined bright that it blinded him. When he opens his eyes, he was in the desert. The virtual screen said he entered the area of his first trial and he needed to prove that he had overcome his fear. Sun Jun knows he's in the desert. Suddenly the sand moved and it goes up to form. Sun Jun knows it will form the golem, and he realizes that the 3 trials that the virtual screen said mean that he's going through the 3 trials he already passed. He knows that he can defeat the sand golem with his eyes closed now, and it means he'll able to go to the 8th floor quickly. The sand formed the golem much bigger, which made Sun Jun ask himself if the sand golem he fought before was huge like the current one. The golem looked at him, then Sun Jun think that the current sand golem was 3 times bigger than before. The sand golem was ready to attack him, then Sun Jun grabbed his sword and shield to his inventory. The golem attacked him but he avoided it. Sun Jun runs into the golem's forearms. Then he jumps over to the sand golem's head to look at the sand golem back. Sun Ji-yoon tried searching for the golem core stone, which is the vital point of the sand golem, but he didn't find it. Suddenly the sand golem turned to face him, which made him shocked. The golem grabbed him and tried to crush him, but the golem was shocked that Sun Ji-yoon sliced its hand to explode and get away from it. Sun Ji-yoon decided to slice the golem because he can't find its core stone. Sun Ji-yoon attacked the golem's head, which made the golem's head split into two. When he landed, and look at the sand golem healing itself. He knows that slicing sand with a knife is not going to work and he needs to find the core stone. The sand golem gets angrier and the golem suddenly squat. Sun Ji-yoon was confused to what's the golem doing. Then the sand golem suddenly jumps to stomp him, but Sun Ji-yoon immediately runs away, and he thinks dodging isn't the problem. But if the golem falls like that, then Sun Ji-yoon got blown away by the impact that the sand golem made. The place that the golem's jumps from was covered with smoke of sand, and Sun Ji-yoon was covered with sand too, which makes Sun Ji-yoon pissed. The golem stopped to find him. Suddenly the golem notices him, then Sun Ji-yoon stand up to get ready. The golem tries attacks him again, but Sun Ji-yoon activates his 3 lacerations skill A-, which made his 3 following sword type attacks enhanced, and his sword's cutting power will be multiplied by 1.5, 2.0, and 2.5. Then he cut the golem's hands with just 1 hit. Sun Ji-yoon realizes he cut the golem in 1 go, and he remembers that he was frustrated before when his floor was invaded. But he now feels thankful to the knight that invaded his floor before. Sun Ji-yoon's plan is to continue slicing the golem in order to find its core stone. Even the golem can regenerate its parts. When the golem completely regenerates itself, he attacks Sun Ji-yoon again. But Sun Ji-yoon decided to cut the golem over and over again as many times as he can. Sun Ji-yoon was tired and wondering where the golem's core stone was. Suddenly he notices something and asks the golem when did it get cute, which made the golem blush to his words. Sun Ji-yoon realizes that the golem body's main source is sand, and it doesn't seem like it can continuously use it in its environment. That's why the golem was getting smaller, and that means he needs to make the golem go on a diet. The golem and Sun Ji-yoon tried to attack each other, then Sun Ji-yoon spin back, then he kicked the golem hands hard, which make the golem hands send flying. Sun Ji-yoon run toward the golem and slice it into pieces, which made the golem fall to the sand. The golem regenerates itself, but it was smaller and it's showing its core stone. Sun Ji-yoon found it in the golem's back. He thinks that the golem core was hard to slice because it was too thick, but the duration of the 7th floor's trial is only 40 minutes, and he needs to hurry. While he was on his thought, suddenly the golem attacked him, but he avoided it. The golem attacks him over and over again, but Sun Ji-yoon avoided it all while saying that the golem got quicker after going on diet. Sun Ji-yoon jumps to the golem's back while saying he wanted to play with the golem more, but he doesn't have time. Then he stabs the golem's core stone, which made the golem scream in pain. Sun Ji-yoon broke the golem core stone and the virtual screen showed that he overproved that he had overcome his fear. Also his first trial ended.